What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to CanesCast. I'm Phil here with Garrett, and man, do we have a lot to go over. Sorry, we were not on last week. Between the two of us, schedules not really mixing, and both of us were kind of under the weather for a little bit of time, and it just never added up. But here we are thinking, man, we missed an opportunity. That Virginia Tech game was one of the best things we could probably talk about on here. The internet went crazy, the whole world went crazy. Little did we know we would have an even more exciting game to go over this week. So we're going to touch a little on Virginia Tech, but what we just saw on Saturday was just ridiculous. And it is as crazy and as one off as that Virginia Tech game was. We saw Hurricanes history in a way that, we may never see again on Saturday. So, man, what a kickoff to ACC play, man. What are your thoughts on the last 2 weeks?
Well, it's been exciting and also almost, it's going to kill me if they keep playing games as close as they were and trail as they did in the last two games into the fourth quarter because, it's hard as a fan that you know maybe a loss can come at any time, but it makes it more and more difficult to face a loss after you have such positive momentum. The Virginia Tech game, we'll start with that. The game ends on a controversial call, if you will. The fun thing about being on the other end of it, because we were on the wrong end of that same scenario the year before at Georgia Tech, where there was certainly a call that needed to be reviewed, and it did not get called correctly in our opinion, and then which led to us losing that game. 180 degrees this season. It's again crazy that it was in the fourth game, of course, and the first ACC game, of course. So, Miami played that game a lot closer than we'd hoped. I
Or
did. I did feel like the game was going to be a lot closer than the experts had for the point spread. So if you remember that show, that's why I called. I thought that the spread was a little bit too high, but I certainly did not think it was going to be that close to go all the way into the final play. I thought they made the mistake that week in that they got all the way down to the one right at the 2-minute warning. I thought they really should have run the ball a couple times to force Virginia Tech to use those three timeouts because they were allowing Kyron Drones to perform magic. He was very tough that game, which I did think that was going to be the case, and he certainly showed out more than I anticipated. So the game here this last week was twice as hard. I don't know why they decided to make it so hard on themselves. Cam Ward had kind of one bad play there where he just kind of tossed it up and they returned it back for pick six. But man, you gotta say the guy's got ice in his veins. The fact that we have now a quarterback that is capable of coming from behind, and whether it be the whole fourth quarter or right at the end there when it needs to be done, we got a guy that can get it done, and that is so refreshing to have because there's absolutely no way in the last 20 years we've had the team, the wherewithal, and most notably the quarterback that would have got us out of those two jams. So I'm happy. I really can't complain anything about the team as a whole because really 6-0 is as good as you can get. They could have made it look prettier, but I'm just glad that we got a guy that when it comes down to it, he really is capable of doing, some impressive things. I certainly think he's the Heisman front runner at this stage. With the numbers, I'll say that, but you got to keep winning to keep that momentum up.
Yeah. No, you absolutely do. And I just want to say, as far as having a guy that can make those plays, I think that on some level the Canes could have made something like that happen on a one-off. Yeah, probably. But we saw a little bit of magic at times. With Malik Rozier in that 2017 season, that's what we keep harkening back to because that's the best season we've seen recently. Right, last time we were 6-0, had a great season that year. I would say that FSU magic winning there like we did was up there. In all-time moments. Obviously, that rivalry encompasses so much. So when you have a moment like that, it's a big moment in the history of the rivalry, right? People are going to talk about that, and that kick-started really what that season will become. But the difference is the exception versus the rule, right? I think with Ward, we it's the expectation. It's the expectation he's going to make these things happen. And you and I were texting during that game. I never felt like, especially after watching Virginia Tech, after that Virginia Tech game, I never felt like we were completely out of it. I was upset. The pick six made it worse. I'm sitting there going, okay. And maybe that's just a realization of, you have time to rationalize because the game's just not going your way. Man, the defense would play well and then just give up a backbreaking play, 50 plus yards, 60 yards. It was just like, come on, just keep them in front of you. It was just some lapse. It was not hitting your assignments, right? These guys aren't disciplined on defense. It's just as like we saw some of the same things that stuck out, that burned us in the run defense, specifically against Virginia Tech. They got us again in this game. Just, the fourth down play to go up the sideline was ridiculous, which, by the way, there's a still shot that shows that he did step out of bounds. So I'm just going to go down that rabbit hole for a second when we'll touch on that in a second, actually, when we talk about how the refs have helped Miami, as if we've been the benefit of, the beneficiaries of biased refereeing at any point of our existence, let alone in our existence in the ACC. So I find that laughable. But no, I mean, the guy throws a Superman cape on, he comes down the field, he makes things happen. And we were texting. I told you we get this score in the third quarter, it's a brand new game, and it was. Defense stood up when it needed to. The offense took care of business. I mean, this is a guy who makes it happen on the free, on the ground when he needs to. Sometimes we've talked about the lackadaisical running. Sometimes it's just his style, but that's twice where he's put a team on his back and went and got a 20-yard touchdown on the ground that was really necessary. He split it and he made the team pay. Doesn't rely on his legs, but it was necessary. And I mean, what else can you say? The guy's unbelievable. Miami has the number one offense in college football right now. And you and I can both say this because we were texting about this as well during this past game, that, we're happy to not be a part of a very exclusive, terribly upset filled weekend when 4 teams were in the top 11 were upset. Sorry if I'm a little pausing. I got the Chiefs Saints game on in the background here, and there was just a big pick in the end zone. So it kind of caught my attention for a second. So my train of thought kind of went.
Again, those calls have gone against Miami in the last couple of years.
Oh, you're back
again,
on the calls?
Yeah, go right back to the year before. Like, you know what I mean? That this team is capable of overcoming a lot. Whether it's 3rd and 15, Cam Ward makes an amazing play to get to Jacoby George in the Virginia Tech game. They had to go review it to actually know that he was across the first down marker on that play. But what's so different about now is
but how about
this
the play
guy
he made to Riley Williams? I mean,
again, these plays are being made when it's, normally you say you get behind the change, you're anything longer than 3rd and 7, you almost count it like that's you're punting or you're going to turn the ball over. Whether it's 4th down and Xavier Restrepo's on his tail catching that ball, you know what I'm saying? These are the types of plays that we have had the talent to put on the field, and we are now finally putting those in the win column. Like, those types of things are leading up to us winning rather than us falling behind. Cam Ward's taken a few sacks that are not burying this team and this offense. That's what I'm trying to explain earlier when I was talking. These types of games have been losses for Miami in the last 20 years because it's always the referee blows a call, or again, we get in crunch time and we can't protect our pocket passing quarterbacks. Now, finally, after all these years, we have a guy that can get it done with his legs and get it done passing the ball. We're never out of it. And again, I'll admit, I was extremely discouraged. I wasn't able to watch the game live because I was working at a benefit that night. But I mean, certainly when I had a chance, I was turning it on, and it wasn't going well. So I'm not having the benefit of feeling the whole game, how it was going, just seeing we were 25 points down, and how are we going to come back from that?
Garrett was Captain Pessimism. I was trying to keep him on the cliff, not going off the cliff. I said it's not over, but we watched all those upsets, and it just felt like Miami was going to be a part of it, right? And I said, it's just
that's
not
again
over
that's
till
the product of having that's the product of having watched this team piss it all away for way too long now. Again, I know this is the kind of quarterback we've needed. We've needed to get with the times to have this kind of a player lead our team. And again, we're the number one in total offense, even up to week 6. I've seen, if you want to have something to point to, the blocking and the running game hasn't been up to snuff yet. We're still running for 150 yards a game. We're passing for almost 400 yards a game. What more could you really ask for? I understand we could block better. We could have bigger rushes. Could have a guy with 500 yards rushing so far. We just don't have that. But there's not a lot left when you're throwing the ball as well. And we'll miss a pass here and there. But again, it's not those kinds of passes have been the end all be all in the breaking back of this team. Now,
100%.
whether it's third down or fourth down, whether it's 10 yards or 15 yards, you really are seeing a guy that can execute those not common first down plays. So finally, I feel good about it. It feels great to finally be on the end of having a capable leader of this offense. Whether we get into bad situations from our own doing or not, he is able to overcome them when it really comes down to it. And we need those plays. We need those plays. We got a guy that can make those plays. That's totally a change we have not had for a severely long time. Because again, back in 2000 early 2000s, we were dominating. We were almost ahead of every single game. Like, our talent level was just far and above and away most teams we faced. So again, there was very little adversity we had to overcome outside of the 2001 team in that BC game where they were going down to put them up by a whole touchdown or whatever it was. Finally, Ed Reed gets a hold of the ball and takes it back on a handoff from his teammate. Right outside of that, there was very little adversity in that season. This season,
Didn't we
staying
only
alive,
beat VT by
staying
2 points
alive.
that year though? I think we only beat VT by Virginia Tech by 2 points that year too. So there was more adversity than I think people remember because we all remember that team as just being the team that, I mean, one of the craziest stats out there for me is that team could have scored no offensive touchdowns that year and still won 8 games. I mean, that's how crazy that 01 team was. I mean, it was unbelievable. We all know the names. The talent was out of this world, but there's always games that test you a little more than people want to remember. You remember the whole. It's like we've watched Tom Brady throw game-losing interceptions, Michael Jordan miss shots, LeBron, all the stuff. They make it more, and that's not how they're remembered, right? They make the play more than they don't, so that's how they're remembered. But the team had its struggles at times. But you're right, BC is the highlight because of the Ed Reed play, and it's an all-time highlight. But this team is unbelievable, and like
And
you
again,
said, we're never
that
out of
team
a
had the
game because
benefit
of
of
war.
winning a championship, so we can look back and feel good about the whole season as a whole. Again, these
100%.
two games, whether we win by 1 or we win by 4, nobody's going to really care if you can end crunch time with, again, we have a guy that can lead us there and actually has the ability to take us to a championship. I totally feel that's possible. Do I absolutely think that's going to happen? No, I can't sit here and say with comfortability that we're going to go in there and beat the best teams in the country. But I feel good about our chances 100%. I have no doubt that we have a team that can compete with anybody on the field at any given day because of that one guy. And
Yeah.
he brings up the guys around him. Again, that's what we've always needed. We've needed a guy that when it comes down to it, he's going to have you playing hard. The guy right here, Riley Williams, was on his butt on the play that he ends up getting this ball in his hands and goes for 20 yards and dang near scores. That's the kind of play that you're going to have from your whole team when a guy is capable of making those plays. Getting up off the ground to be there to take that ball was what I'm trying to, that like in essence encompasses what I'm trying to talk about. Where again,
100%.
last year, if things weren't going well and Tyler Van Dyke was throwing balls to the other team, the whole team went to the tank because they're like, okay, this is the perpetual belief is that when things aren't going well, they spiral and they keep going down. That's what I again said. 20 years of watching this team play, these are not the kinds of games that Miami wins. These are the types of games that Miami loses frustratingly because again, it wasn't about the talent on the field. It's about when guys get down and gets hard, they don't put the belief in each other. They do not have each other's backs. They have not had that up until this season. And again, maybe we slip up. And I'm not saying that we go undefeated. Surely we're capable. The schedule lines up like that. It's possible. The big, is Mario Cristobal going to have this team ready to come out of a bye week? That's what we really have to worry about for the next game. But
Yeah.
I can't sit here and say like I don't buy into the referees give us anything. Again, you make your own magic because again, I don't recall after the fact getting that W sent back to us from anybody when the Georgia Tech game happens, the debacle happens. So again, I'm not going to apologize or feel bad or dump on this team for taking a victory when, sometimes they just go your way, and that's as good as I can say it.
And you said it, man. Like as good as you could say it, I think something you left out there. You worry about the bye week, but that bye week has been the bugaboo. We have not played well out of bye weeks for whatever reason in recent memory, and that's important. We got to get out to a strong start. We got to come out and punch Louisville in the mouth because you can't, as much as these games I think are needed on some level because they test the character of the team and they show that this team won't lie down, and it doesn't matter who you play. Every coach that we play, every team that we play, every coach is going to say this team is never out of it because of that guy, because he's the one guy. He's unflappable, right? I mean, in the pocket, we talk about his pocket presence. I brought it up every week how calm he is, but he throws that pick and it's like it doesn't matter. Come back, short memory. I mean, he does what he needs to do. That he doesn't let that affect his future plays. He can have bad games all around at some point where he doesn't have this thing, because we're going into it saying Virginia Tech and oh man, worst game he's played. Oh wow, he still has moments that are going to go on that Heisman reel. Still throws for 350 plus yards, multiple touchdowns, rushes a touchdown. He bounces back from those turnovers. Oh, he goes to Cal. Man, our offense is struggling. We cannot do it. Oh, he throws that pick six. That was just horrible. And then he leads the craziest comeback, second biggest comeback, but one of the craziest comebacks we've ever seen in Hurricanes history, and puts the team on his back. So he's still making this, making things happen all the way around. And again, will he have a bad game where he just has a bad game? Probably, but he has shown me enough, and the team has shown me enough that give me confidence that if that bad game happens and we don't close it, because you play with fire enough, you'll get burned. You can't play every game like this and expect to claw back and win in dramatic fashion. It's not how it works. They've given me enough hope and promise to say, you know what, I think they'll bounce back the way they're supposed to and make things happen. I'm a little upset Louisville lost to SMU because we lose that ranked matchup. So now it's sitting there. Everyone's going to want to talk about the strength of schedule. But I want to say this real quick. Who have we played? Right? I have this stat pulled up here and I dropped it
Well,
off.
and I'll say while you're looking for that
Go
people were
for it.
down on Virginia Tech going into that game because they were 2-2. But as you saw,
They're
they
not a bad
lost the
team.
first game to Vanderbilt, who turns around and beats the number one team in the country. So I was not down on the Virginia Tech capabilities, as it seemed like, again, thinking we were just going to wipe the floor with those guys on a night game, a Friday game. And that guy is super talented. I want to sit here and give Virginia Tech and Cal credit because they came with it. They did everything they should have done to win those two games. Miami just was a little bit better than those two games. And finally, it's because we have a guy that can overcome the turnovers. Again, let's talk real quickly about the turnover was on the very first possession in the Virginia Tech game, right? Go rewind to the year we lose to Middle Tennessee State. First two passes out of Tyler Van Dyke's hands going right into the other guy's possession, right?
Yeah.
His first two passes were interceptions. That whole game, he could not get out of the dumps, and that whole season went down the tank because he was inside his head. He had, visions of being a first round pick, and everything was blah 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 blah. Talking up Tyler Van Dyke. When those things went wrong, that's the difference in this guy that we have now. Is he's not the kind of guy that's going to defeat himself before he ever gets back on the field again. He's supremely confident. If you listen to the interviews, that is it oozes out of this guy. It oozes confidence. He can make a play, he can make a bad play, but he is not going to get down on himself and start disbelieving that he's capable of making it happen. So that, I got to say, is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
Go and ahead. That to me goes to the rest of the team too, because like you said, it helps the rest of the team believe, and more importantly, it helps to me the backup quarterbacks believe that. So the guys that come after this guy, come afterwards out of here, which I hope he can stay forever, and or just get taken by the Dolphins. We've had that conversation, but it helps that instill that positive belief, and then that don't get down that right mental state to have. I think in those moments, and that's big for the rest of the team. But yeah, Van Dyke, I'll do you one better. The Middle Tennessee game went down the tubes, but then watch what happened to us last year, right? We watched him have one of the best games of anybody in the college football season, beating Texas A&M. In a game we came back, a game where the team showed a little, intestinal fortitude and pushback and fight back. 5 touchdown passes, played great. And then we watched that same guy go out there against Georgia Tech. And despite all that he was down, Chaney was down. We know he was down. And we should have kneeled the ball, but Chaney was down. You talked about that earlier. And then still letting them get behind us and score, all unacceptable across the board. Van Dyke had a pretty terrible game that game. Threw a lot of interceptions, not have a good game. And that was that up and down, that roller coaster that we lived with. So we saw a guy that were like, man, he's turning the corner. This is that first round pick, Texas A&M. a top 25 team, a defense that's loaded full of top tier talent, despite how we felt like they were being coached. The team is talented. He torched them. And then what happened after that? So, yeah, the roller coaster is something that people want to say that we might live game to game or play to play because, excuse me, play to play because Ward might have a bad play, but then he gives you that superhero potential. I'll take it. I'll take the guy that can give you the splash play, that can make something happen at any moment, will your team to victory, and has consistently willed us to victory. I mean, without Cam Ward, we don't win those games. And I wanted to touch on those on that stat. I was telling you about people want to talk about our schedule because I'm talking Louisville's not ranked. That sucks because I want a ranked team on the schedule. Hopefully, Duke just lost. Maybe Duke can win a few more games and find themselves ranked when we play them. But strength of
Well,
schedule.
and you got Florida State coming up. That's a totally different team in the first 5 weeks. Their quarterback made some pretty good plays. Again,
Yeah, but they're not going to be ranked.
You want to look at these.
Do us any
oh,
favors.
This guy lost. This team lost to that team. This team lost to that team. We should just win because you compare their history, right? Again, every team is a new team. I don't care what happened the week before. I don't care how crappy their season is up until the day we play those teams. Those teams from obscurity come up and play tough. They want to put their best foot forward against this kind of a program. I'm not saying Miami's been worthy of that for the last 20 years, but it's still a very recognizable brand and a brand name that when they come out there and have the ability to throw again a good game, they can have a crappy season, but play one good game against Miami and it really sets their team up for
they're looking at
good future, right? Or again, good film for going into the NFL potential.
That's Cal Super Bowl.
Seems what it plays like, right?
Virginia
and we've not had the guys that have been able to withstand that kind of punch every week. So is that finally this team? Is this team the team that can finally take everyone's best shot? I don't care if they're ranked or not. And again, what is so different about this year is that it doesn't matter. Win the goddamn conference, you're going to be in the playoffs. That's all that really matters. I don't care if we're ranked 100. You win all the games, you win the ACC championship game, you're going to be in the games that matter at the end of the season. So, yeah, sure, I'd like to see Miami ranked number one, but is it really going to matter if they're not by the end of the season? No. What really matters, win the games in front of you, beat the teams you're supposed to beat, which we should, and then everything will take care of itself. That hasn't been the case. That hasn't been the case. You had to have sexy victories, and you had to show out for these stupid computers or these voters. So again, you had to get to the top four to be considered for the playoffs for the last 7-8 years. Before that, it was even harder. You had to be in the top two. So again, those things have been finally taken care of. You can play good football, be a good team, and you're going to get a shot. Florida State last year, whatever. You want to talk shit about Florida State all day. But again, that thing will never happen again. They go through a team undefeated, a season undefeated, whether they beat Middle Tennessee State's every single game or whether they beat Alabama every game. They're going to get a chance to be in the games that matter at the end of the season. Finally, that's the only thing I can say is that's really gone really well in college football. We finally have fixed that crap where it's all about high rankings. It's not anymore. Win the conference, get in the playoffs, everything will take care of itself. That's all you can ask for. And again, I understand you want to be ranked high, but in the end, it doesn't really matter. Don't worry about anyone else. You have control of your own destiny. That's what I would like,
Someone
to put my
at
2
the
cents
end
in.
of the day, somebody at the end of the day is still going to be pissed. If you go undefeated, you're not going to miss you're not going to miss it now because there's not going to be enough undefeated teams to be left out. So they're still going to make the play. Oh, yeah, Florida State makes it this year if they had the season that they did last year, regardless, right? If that same thing happens to us, if Cam Ward gets hurt at the end of the year, well, the Canes are still in if they have one loss and it's in the ACC championship game or something like that. They're still going to get in. I want the number one ranking because theoretically it provides the easiest route, right? You want to be the number one team. You want to play the lower seeds. So I still want that. And I want that for the rank. I want that for the history. I want that for Miami. Like the first expansion here, we were still the number one team. It wouldn't have mattered how you cut this up, right? If it was last year or if it was the BCS, Miami, when it was just the top two, Miami's going to get in. Miami's the team. I want that. I want the very best all the time. But the Florida State game, I agree that you can't overlook opponents. It's Florida State. It's a rivalry. We're going to get their best punch. It's always going to be that way for Florida State because it's Florida State. We hate each other. Miami hates Florida State. Florida State, their 2013 season, they had a phenomenal season. 2014 season, they had a very good season. Miami had a terrible season. We still pushed them. right? I mean, we've seen how these teams play each other. You usually throw those things out the window when these teams play. That's why the Virginia Tech game, that's a rivalry too. But it's Miami. And the one thing we've talked about is there's been a tremendous amount of hate on the internet from people, from fans, other fans. And I got to say, it warms my heart because the hate comes out when Miami is threatening, because in their core, a lot of people don't like the Canes. Canes were once the bad boys of college football. They did things their own way, hit stick, bust stick, talk shit, the whole thing. And that is the Hurricane way. And people immediately, they love to clown, they love to clown, they love to clown. But the second Miami ends up being something where, oh, this is a threat, the haters start coming out strong and they're going to keep talking and they want us to fail. So we're getting, because of that, it riles everyone up. We get everybody's best shot. That's just what it is. And I expect nothing less the rest of the season. I don't expect close games every week. I think we're going to win some, quite a few more games pretty handily. I think we need to for the respect factor. But the biggest game.
Well, what I say is,
right?
I want to piggy off that real quick. That the cool thing about this season is it's not everyone throwing the U down when they have a good play, right? It's the clowning the mouth cover and the hush. So what's kind of cool is like
it's the new turnover chain.
New.
Everyone's copying it.
It's the new thing that people want to, the first thing they have a big play, they want to go in and try to, to crap on it. So I somehow that just makes me feel a little better that it's a new thing, that it's not always the put the U down thing, because that's played out in my opinion. So that's just one thing I wanted to talk about. Since
but
you're
it's
right,
the same thing, right? Everybody does this.
People are coming out to,
you're going to see that
to get out there and throw their little, throw their jab at it. So
if somebody has something, dude, that they can a hand signal, there's a couple hand signals that are the most, what are the most recognizable in college sports? Honestly, I know we're biased. This is probably the most recognizable hand signal in college sports. It's the U. Everybody knows what the U is. It's a brand, like you said. But throw the horns up, Texas, that's right there. Everybody throws them down. Red River rivalry this weekend. We're going to see a ton of that from Oklahoma fans, no matter what's going on. The O, Oregon, what are you going to do? Throw that? I mean, it's a circle. What are you supposed to do with that, right? So they break it over their knee, I guess. But that's exactly what everybody did. And the thing that pissed me off the most for years when people threw the U down is there was no fight in the team. There was no punch back, pushback, anger. Us on the, watching at home in the stands, we're always pissed about that. We always like, why are we standing for that? I don't care if we get in a sportsmanlike conduct penalty or something happens. Do something about that. Don't that disrespect is crazy. I hated that. Now we're punching back and putting teams down. I love that every time we've seen that mock, from USF to Virginia Tech to the Gators in the first week of the season, Ball State trying to chirp, even though that was obviously nonsense. And then now against Cal, every time it's blown up in their face, every time they've been sad, and every time it's been great. So I love the tears. I love the crying. I love the complaining everybody's doing, that the refs are saving Miami. I'm just going to touch on this real quick because we're going to wrap it up. That targeting penalty, do you want to say that saved the game? Okay. Or lack of targeting penalty. He's a free runner. I don't think it's targeting. They didn't call targeting for a reason. Let's go back and talk about the score spread. Jaden Knott stepped out of bounds. Didn't even attempt to review that. That wasn't a touchdown. Does Miami get a stop there? Maybe. Also, did the refs come back from 25 down? I don't know. It's pretty crazy if they did, because all I saw is Miami do that. Defense, offense, complementary football when it was needed. Canes got it done. So all I can say with that, if you're going to hate on the Canes, we'll take it. We love it right now because we're on top of the world. We're 6-0. We keep climbing. In a week full of upsets, we avoided it, and we're not used to that in recent memory. So let's enjoy the ride, Canes fans. We're excited. I want to give a shout out real quick because it's this time of year. First of all, Fins got the win yesterday. It was, warmed my heart because obviously things have not gone well with injuries. So all you Dolphins fans out there, yes, we're still back in it. The rest of the division lost. And more importantly than that, tomorrow, or when you guys are watching this, the Florida Panthers start their Stanley Cup defense on hopefully en route to another Stanley Cup championship, back-to-back and third straight Stanley Cup finals trip, and hopefully back-to-back cups. So super exciting times in South Florida. Hopefully, the Canes follow suit with a championship of their own too. So, Garrett, any parting words before we toss into?
Well, yeah, I am. Episode. I'm going to talk about the review of the hit, because
okay,
again,
yeah, go for it. I was a little premature, I guess.
I think they are becoming a little more wise to what is actually overly aggressive or what is dangerous rather than just playing football. Like, yeah, he got smoked.
It's a big
The
hit, man.
Saints
That's football.
definitely hit him for everything he was worth. But again, as a ball runner, again, he was not sitting back in the pocket. It was not a guy that just had caught the pass and you're coming in there trying to, kill somebody. He saw the hit coming. He was lowering his head. He's
Yep.
lowering his where are you supposed to hit somebody? Again, this is a game with unfortunately it has injuries. Not like you're trying to go out there and make those injuries uh, unnecessarily, but you're supposed to be able to hit somebody to get them the fuck down. Again, I'm going to use coarse language because it pisses me off that they want to sit here and talk about they can't tackle, they can't break tackles. But when you go in there and you lay somebody the fuck down, then they want to sit there and chirp like it's targeting, right?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying to the guy I wanted to see him get hurt. I didn't. I really like, to be honest with you, his game, and he's from Miami. So again, you didn't want him to be hurt, but you got to let these motherfucking kids play football. And that again was a great football play. That was a hell of a hit because he was not going down on that hit. And again, he's protecting himself from the standpoint of he was coming down, lowering his head. The Saint led with his shoulder, and yes, there was contact with their heads, but it wasn't like he used his head as his only point of contact. So again, I understand that while the game was being broadcast, Brock Osweiler, that's the quintessential, that's the absolute definition of targeting. But again, luckily these referees have the objectability that seeing how these plays are really played out in real time. With yes, they slow them down to make every single frame come to light, but you cannot hold these guys to that accountability when there is literally no malintent. The Saint meant to hit him hard. Yes, he did not mean to hurt him in the sense of like trying to take him out. If he was trying to take him out, he'd take him down his knees,
Wasn't
right?
sneaking
Again,
in.
he's not trying to injure the guy. He's
No.
trying to make the goddamn football play. You got to let these guys play fucking football. They put on the pads. They are big, strong, physical human beings for a damn reason. That's why we try to watch this fucking sport. So again, I apologize, but yes, I understand that. Oh, that if that call goes that way, that game is over. They literally could have put us in a bind because we could not get the ball back at that point. They would have ran it out. So again,
Three
I understand
timeouts.
everyone else who's not in my yeah, but again, you're talking about they would have had a whole nother possession with 15 more yards. Again, the game is a completely different game at that point by calling that taking that play into their hands and the referee's hands, rather than allow it to be a football play, which they thankfully did. They go back to the Virginia Tech game because we didn't talk about it. Again, I've never seen that they would call that on the field and with really no good shot of actually showing that ball. You've seen hundreds of frames. Everyone's seen it. The ball got bobbled. That could have gone either way. Again, I like it because it went our way this case. But again, Kyron Jones put the ball in a magnificent place from a 40-yard pass all the way down to the back of the end zone to put the ball in that exact spot. Could have put them in a position of winning that game. Was an amazing play. Yes, I understand the referees went and called it for Miami, but again, those calls have gone against us for so long. It's finally nice to have one in our pocket. Go back. You want to take that victory out of us from the referee standpoint? Go ahead and give us a national championship in 2002 because you go back and we've seen that a million different times. That was a great football play that went against us. So again, people come out of the woodworks and hate on us all they want, but they are not giving us back a natty. They're not giving us back the win from Georgia Tech last year when it's been shown a million times that those should have gone our way. So again, that's all I'm going to say. I'm glad we're on the other side of it this time because we've been on it plenty of the other times.
100%.
I'll say the one other time we've ever got that was the laterals play when we beat Duke. But again, that was a game of no consequence. It was literally for basically garbage. And they did miss that call. Like probably his knee was down on that last pitch. Or even if they really wanted to, they could have called all the kids running on the field before they had actually crossed the end zone. So again, 2 times in the history of Miami football that I've been watching forever that they've gone our way. And this one was actually one of consequence, thankfully. Thank you, refs.
Honestly, those are big moments. There's probably other times that we're not remembering right now. So people jump on us for that. There's probably other times. But again, we have seen us, like you said, I've seen us be on the losing end of a ton of terrible things, heartbreaking moments, and we're hoping against hope. Same thing, that this season ends a little differently. We get to see our team play in a big moment, down the road and we can make some big headway and win some important games in important moments. We've done it so far. Hopefully we keep it rolling. I thought the thing I like the best is 6 weeks in, we're bowl eligible. So, 6 wins and it feels good, right? We fought for that 2 years ago. And then obviously last year, we got there, but it was, obviously progress is definitely being made and the team is being built in the right way. So as always, guys,
I did
it's all
think
about
the
the
last
you.
game they did do a good job of playing the game out at the end of the game, leaving them as little amount of time as possible. So
Yep.
the week before, they really screwed that up, in my opinion. They should have ran the ball to get a couple of those timeouts taken off of Virginia Tech, not allowed them to be in the position to throw a damn Hail Mary to win the game. But again, they did do a better job of the clock management. So if Mario Cristobal will go ahead, keep that progression going so we can not be on the losing end. Sorry. Go ahead, man. I'm ready. Go ahead.
You're good. All right, guys. It's all about the you. We will see you next week.